No, she's got food in her mouth.
If we
Go
started,
ahead,
if
Councillor
we
McCarthy.
started at 1, you'd be done eating on that. That the following roster for deputy mayor for the 2022-2023 council year be established. And that in the absence of both the mayor and the deputy mayor, the next scheduled deputy mayor shall assume the role of acting mayor. 2022 November, December, Councillor Broadhead. 2023 January, February, Councillor Jolly. 2023 March and April, Councillor Hughes. 2023 May, June, Councillor Bermansky. 2023 July, August, Councillor Mackay. I don't get holidays again. 2023 September, October, Councillor Killick.
All right, any debate on that?
No, I put my comment in.
All right, call for the vote. Voting's closed. And that passes unanimously. I'm glad that one passed because I've already got Councillor Broadhead all scheduled up for November. All right, anyone want to do the standing committee of the whole, establishing that schedule? Councillor Hughes, go ahead.
So I had a quick question here.
Okay.
Maybe I should have done the question. So we're doing a committee council meetings on Tuesdays. And so the standing committee of the whole, the recommendation, I'm assuming, would then just follow the same thing on the Tuesday schedule unless we say Monday, which now we're getting into confusion land. Because I'm looking at the fact that we only have a couple of council meetings. And generally what comes out of the committee of the whole can sometimes be amended. And it's often put on the next week's schedule. So if we put a standing committee standing meeting on Tuesdays, and you still have to get that agenda out for Thursday, Friday, how is that going to be possible? Or is it now going to cause more stress to have it on a Tuesday than on a Monday for standing committee of the whole to get that ready to go for council for the following week?
Thank you. There will not be additional stresses put on the system. We'll be prepared to make that turnaround.
Okay. Well, we can do the start time. We can always do amendments. That the schedule for regular meetings, standing committee of the whole, will be shown as the approved calendar as attached in October 24th agenda report entitled Organizational Matters. That meetings of standing committee of the whole will commence at 9:30 on their scheduled dates, unless a different starting time for meetings determined when the proposed agenda for that meeting is established through agenda planning process under the procedure bylaw. And that a scheduled regular standing committee of the whole meetings will occur in the Douglas Cardinal Boardroom at Senate Place with the option for committee members or the public to attend or participate through an electronic form.
So you read it exactly as is?
I read it every word like they put in front of me.
Okay, all right. All right. Any amendments, any changes? Councillor Jolly, you're good with 9:30? Okay, then I will accept that and go into debate.
I got nothing further. I think we've debated this sucker. We're 55 minutes in already. We're good.
All right, call for the vote then. Voting's closed and that passes unanimously. Jesus, sorry, I'm just thinking because now that we're going to Tuesdays and that first week of November was supposed to be a holiday and I've got holidays. Oh, we'll figure it out later. Councillor Broadhead, you might be running a council meeting next week.
About time.
We approved the Tuesday version, which has a council meeting on the 1st of November. Yeah. Yeah, no. Is there any appetite to move that meeting to the 8th and then do committee of the whole on the 15th? No. I could make, I can't make the motion. I could pass the chair or somebody else could do it. Do you guys have this? You like the first? I'm okay. I can miss a council meeting. I rarely do. I could zoom in, but Probably not. All right, I'm fine. Okay, that's all done. So now we need to do the legislative appointments. Yes,
Can I just get clarification on this for 1 second, just to follow up with what you're saying?
Yep.
So we're only having one council meeting in November and it's going to be on the 1st, and our next council meeting is not until December 6th.
that's correct.
I am just.
We
I'm
can move
feeling-
it to the 8th and the 15th if you want. If you want to make that.
I'm just
motion.
going to look to admin here. And because this is a long time to go between council meetings and decisions. So when it was on the Monday, just so that we can all reflect on the changes that we just made. And the world was going in the right direction, in my opinion. When it was on the Monday, it was going on the 7th. And we still had a delay, but we're looking at an extra delay. So from a timing perspective, is it actually better to have the only meeting in November on the 1st? Or would it be better from a timing perspective to do it to the 15th?
Your worship, and to Councillor Hughes, actually, the meeting schedule would be better if the first meeting was November 8th. Staff are preparing we're preparing the reports for the 7th. I don't know if we would be able to turn around an agenda that quickly.
Because there was assuming. Councillor Hughes, you want to make that motion?
Sure, that we amend the council calendar to go from the November 1st, 2022 meeting to November 8th, 2022 meeting. And that the budget meeting is changed to, is it
It's
the
a
budget
committee
meeting
of
was
the
always the
whole.
7th?
It's a committee of the whole. on it.
Committee, okay, so we need the council meeting to change from the November 1st to November 8th, 2022. And the committee of the whole meeting is changed from the 8th to the 15th, 2022.
Can we just clarify the standing committee of the whole?
Standing committee of the
Standing
whole,
committee
Yeah, not the
sorry,
budget.
standing committee of the whole.
Did you get that?
So we're just going to bump everything back by 1 week is what we're doing, just so that everybody
Just the council. and
has
the
clarity,
Standing committee of the whole.
and the council meeting,
The council and standing committee of the whole are being bumped. by
just
one.
move back
Yeah.
1 week.
Budget stays the same. You're good with that?
Budgets on the 3rd and 7th
Yeah.
at this point, correct? It is what it is.
All right.
Still going to be typed for questions, just saying.
You good, Renee? Sorry, we're doing this on the fly.
There's nothing fast.
I didn't
here.
think this was going to be fast at all.
No,
I. Yes, and I know probably Christina and Melissa are watching and right now sending out invites because our calendars are crazy. It'll be nice to have this settled. All right, I think, yeah, where they go, perfect. Okay, call for the vote unless you have anything to add.
I think we're good.
Thanks for that, Mr. Hills. That was good. It is. Yeah,
In Ken's defense, he's not the only one who can't read that type 3 font. Instead of saying meeting to be scheduled, can we say rescheduled to November 15th?
no, they're just amending the calendar, so.
But we had one scheduled for that. So just the committee, standing committee, the whole meeting be rescheduled to November 15th. Or moved, or whatever word, but not.
It's all good. Thank you. Wes still has to do the budget meeting on the 3rd. I might zoom in for that one. We'll see. So did I. All right, call for the vote. Voting's closed and that is unanimous. All right. Ledge appointments. Anyone want to make this motion? Natalie's fastest.
Ready?
Go ahead. Yeah.
That elected officials be appointed to council committees and external agencies as specified in the recommendations for 2022-2023 appointments to council committees and external agencies provided as an attachment to the October 24, 2022 agenda report entitled Legislative Appointments for a one-year term unless otherwise specified.
All right, any comments? Seeing no one else, I'll call for the vote. Voting's closed and that passes unanimously. And now I will adjourn the organizational meeting. Adjourned. Okay, that is that. Let's take 5 minutes stretch before we get into the regular council meeting. unmute us. Counselor Broadhead, are you with us? Awesome. Okay, I will now call the second meeting of the day to order. Get to use the gavel a lot today. Monday, October 24th, regular council meeting. Again, everyone is here with Counselor Broadhead virtual. I need a motion to adopt the agenda. Thank you, Counselor Mackay.
I might as well stay consistent in the new
Yep.
one, but come Tuesday, I'm not doing it. That the October 24th, 2022 agenda be adopted as presented.
Okay, call for the vote. Issues with our system? That's okay. We'll do a hand vote for now. All those in favor of the agenda? Okay, Councillor Broadhead, so that's passed. Presentations. Oh, I did have a list. So council, FYI for you all. We did have two registered speakers for today. Cheryl Demont, she's still here, and Marilyn McGreer, both of them to speak on the budget, which is of course completely fine and completely within our policies. But I did ask Ledge to contact them and say, today we're not really talking budget. We're just getting it kind of publicly revealed and released, much like a first reading. And there'll be no questions on budget. So we've suggested to both those speakers that they might find a better time to speak. And Cheryl agrees with that. So I appreciate that. I mean, you're always welcome, Cheryl. You know that. So we actually have no registered speakers. Is that right? Am I getting a thumbs up from Ledge? Okay. All right, then I'm going to move on to consent agenda, and it has been suggested that we actually add 9.1, St. Albert Sturgeon Hospice Association to consent. Who is going to read that one? I can't remember. You were going to read it? Okay. Oh, Councillor Killick's got it faster than you. Go ahead. Okay, Councillor Jolly's got it ready here, so I'll let her go. Go ahead, Councillor Jolly.
That the recommendations in the following agenda reports be approved. 6.1, regular council meeting minutes of October 17, 2022. 7.2, time extension request, service place financial report, and 9.1. What's that called?
St. Albert Hospice Association sponsorship.
Yeah.
Sturgeon
Yes.
Hospice Association
That one,
sponsorship.
that one.
All right, call for the vote. No, it's really,
Yeah, we're missing one.
okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
Beautiful.
Thank you, guys. And that passes unanimously. So on consent, we approved the minutes from October 17th. And now we get into the big presentation, the big show, the big show. Mr. Fletcher is going to present his first budget
Meeting,
as CAO. Pardon?
do we do mini minutes?
That was on consent.
Okay.
Yeah.
I read that.
All right, thank you, Your Worship Council, and through you to St. Albertans. If you'll bear with me for a minute, I'm going to share my screen.
Madam Mayor,
Yeah, sorry.
just been brought on a point of order.
Did I forget something?
No, I'm just checking something on the minutes.
Oh,
There was.
I think it has to be there. Yeah, I'll talk to David after.
Are you, I mean, should we?
Do you want a motion to go in camera right
Yeah,
now?
I
ask the
need-
question?
We need a motion to go in camera.
Okay, go ahead.
Just the council moves in camera, section 24 or something in relation to the minutes.
Okay.
Previous minutes. Section 24.
Section 24, advice from
I'll
officials.
show you in a minute.
Okay, all those in favor? Just hands up is good? Yeah. Okay, can we just maybe have David and Bill in the council lounge? We were so quick, we didn't have time to set up a breakout room. I will let you, nothing's changing. I'll just let you know the concern later. All right, I need a motion to reconvene in public. Councillor Killick, go ahead.
Motion that council reconvene in public.
All right, I'll call for the vote. Not working. Councillor Broadhead, okay. Councillor Jolly, you're in favor? Okay. All right, sorry, back to you in the big show. We should have given him a top hat and a cane and
And I will just turn my camera on here. Bear with me. Madam Mayor, councillors, and through you to all St. Albert, this afternoon, I will be introducing the proposed financial budget. Correction financial plan and 2023 budget to you for your consideration. Today's presentation is the first of a series of budget presentations and public meetings over the course of the next few weeks. The financial plan and budget is a product of a collaborative and ongoing conversations between council and administration. The City of St. Albert follows an established and very deliberate strategic framework to align the city's strategic and business planning processes, budgeting, management, and reporting practices and processes to achieve outcomes established in the community vision and your council's strategic plan. The proposed budget was informed by the council approved services and service levels inventory, your strategic plan, and decisions made in previous budgets that have ongoing impacts. Infrastructure is probably the large one. As such, the proposed 2023 budget focuses on maintaining the high standards expected for delivery of our programs and services to this community, as approved by you. Supporting priorities established in council's strategic plan, supporting investments made to continue to stimulate the growth and diversification and responding to community growth writ large. Although a rolling 3-year budget is prepared to enhance the process and reinforce the commitment to long-term fiscal strategies, we nonetheless present a 1-year budget for your approval. This process ensures the most current economic climate and costs associated with delivering services to the community are applied and considered. Before I present the details of the proposed 2023 budget, I would like to take a few minutes to talk about the environment in which we operate. It has influenced and informed our business planning and proposed budget. I'll speak briefly to the external factors at a global and provincial level, followed by additional business planning and budget factors and considerations that were used developing the 2023 budget. And finally, I will present an overview of the City of St. Albert's proposed 2023 municipal and utility budgets and the next steps, including some key dates informed this morning informed this afternoon rather, for public participation opportunities that will help inform council's final decisions towards the end of the year. At a high level, several external factors are impacting the city and therefore our plans and budgets. The economy is still recovering, and with that, its impact on the city's operations continue. Obviously, the pandemic impacted everybody. Like our residents, the city has experienced significant inflationary pressures with increased costs required to operate the city and deliver services to our community. The city's population and geographical footprint has grown, necessitating additional service support. With that, commodity volumes, gas, diesel, electricity, et cetera, have increased and are over and above inflationary impacts. The provincial government has impacted municipal governments through policy changes that have reduced our revenue sources. And lastly, the city has taken on more debt to fund investments for the future, with an increased cost of debt, servicing the debt, now very evident. It is costing the city more essentially to borrow money than it did a few years ago. Our revenue streams are still recovering post-COVID. And I would highlight that none of this is unique to St. Albert. This is true in households, and this is also true across all municipalities who are grappling with these challenges to one degree or another. In planning for the 2023 to 2025 budget, administration has kept in mind the impacts of the economy, inflation, CPI, and unemployment rates in particular. Stable and predictable inflation makes it easier for residents and organizations such as this city to plan for expenses when we can anticipate what those expenses will be. However, we have been experiencing inflation at the highest levels in decades. Compared to 5 years ago, the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, has risen by 112%, from 133.4 to 150.2. This means that planning for costs, whether as residents or as a municipal government, has become much more difficult. In 2021, primary drivers of CPI included higher transportation and energy costs. But in 2021, the global economy also grappled with significant supply chain disruptions, including input shortages, production bottlenecks, backlogs at key ports, higher shipping costs, and delivery delays. All of these constraints limited the supply of goods and services. That said, the economy is recovering post-COVID. According to Statistics Canada, economic recovery strengthened during the second half of 2021 as output rebounded to pre-COVID levels in the fourth quarter. Business stockpiling, higher export volumes, and increases in residential and non-residential investment contributed to a stronger economic activity late in 2021. Because there is demand for residential and non-residential investment in St. Albert, the city needs to ensure lands are ready to meet the demand for investment. We also continue to see unemployment dropping back to pre-pandemic levels. And as of August 2022, unemployment in Alberta has dropped to 5.4%, which is the lowest it has been in 5 years. While inflation remains high, household spending is on the rise coming out of the pandemic. During the first part of 2022, the surging price of crude oil and natural gas spurred growth. Well, this growth has slowed somewhat, with the price of crude coming back down to the area of $30 to $40 a barrel. Alberta's growth is forecast to be above the rest of the country. As for the future outlook, if growth slows, this will leave businesses and consumers more exposed to inflation and to rising interest rates, which have increased from 0.5% at the beginning of this year to 3.5% in September and may yet rise further. Rising interest rates mean that individuals may be hesitant to make big purchases, such as a car on credit or a house, which may result in the cooling of the real estate market. While the real estate market may continue to decline, it could be tempered by strong population growth. A recent report from the International Monetary Fund stated that the Canadian economy is expected to slow down, which will further impact Canadians as interest rates continue to rise, and we are likely to result in a recession. As council is aware, municipalities in Alberta and Canada largely have 3 revenue streams: property taxes, user fees, and charges and grants. While the City of St. Albert has been successful in competing for and receiving several federal and provincial grants recently, the government of Alberta has decreased its long-standing capital funding stream for municipalities through the Local Government Fiscal Framework, formerly known as the Municipal Sustainability Initiative Program. Within a city the size of St. Albert, this amounts to approximately $4 million less in capital funding on an annual basis. At their Q1 financial update, the government of Alberta announced a projected surplus of $13.2 billion for 22-23, with the intent of repaying $13.4 billion in debt and a total investment of $2.9 billion in the Heritage Trust Fund this year. So while the provincial economy shifts from recovery to growth due to bitumen royalties, resource revenue, and corporate income taxes, the government has signaled their priority will be paying down the debt. investing in the Heritage Trust Fund and individual tax credits. As noted by former Premier Kenny at the Alberta Municipalities Convention in September, the provincial fiscal picture may fluctuate based on market changes in resources and commodity prices. Nothing is for sure or known. Lastly, Alberta has a new leader in Premier Smith and her cabinet, and they have a short window to enact policy decisions before the general election next spring. What impact these decisions and what opportunities may be presented to municipalities to partner with the province on matters to mutual benefit remains to be seen. Operating expenses per capita is calculated by taking the total operating expenses of the municipality and dividing it by its population. This is useful because it provides an indicator as to how efficiently the city is operating. The lower the operating cost per capita, the more efficiently a municipality is offering its services. Relatively, we can see that while St. Albert offers some of the highest service and service levels in the province, the community is getting strong value for its dollar. Administration continues to ensure that we manage our expenses as efficiently as possible while balancing the needs of our residents for services we deliver and investing in our future. The following graph, I would like to say should be clear to everybody, but it took explaining a little bit to me, displays the 10-year change in St. Albert's tax split history. It actually provides a very good demonstration of the time it takes to turn the dial, if you want to use the vernacular, towards a more favorable non-residential residential tax split. From 2013 to 2022, the city moved from 83-17, so that's 83 residential, 17 non-residential, to 79-21. Tax split refers to what portion of the annual municipal tax levy will be paid by the residential tax versus the non-residential tax base. Non-residential taxpayers include retail and industrial businesses within the city. In St. Albert's case, our tax split is more heavily reliant on residential taxes than non-residential taxes. Council policy is used to guide the tax split using a migrate and lock strategy. And currently our tax split sits at 79-21, residential to non-residential. The long-term goal for St. Albert is to migrate to a more favorable non-residential tax split, which is more in line with city municipality comparators. Recent assessment growth in the non-residential base has assisted this transition without large tax increases to the non-residential sector. This is also a long-term strategy that requires the city to be investment ready to attract new non-residential development in the short and medium terms. Without non-traditional revenue sources, this is the primary taxation policy and mechanism to assist in alleviating St. Albert's comparatively high reliance on residential property taxes. And while we have a high dependency on residential taxes, we are trending in the right direction. We'll turn now to an overview of our historical tax increases. This chart shows the proposed average 2023 tax increases percentage and the actual historical tax increase percentages for the last 8 years, 2015 through to 2022 for St. Albert. The final 2023 tax rates for residential and non-residential properties will be based on the final budget approval finalized through the tax rate bylaw in May of 2023. The percentage figures represented the average residential municipal and non-residential municipal tax increases across the years. Since 2015, the residential property tax or property class, has experienced a less than 2.9% municipal tax increase for 8 successive years, with the average of 2015 through 2022 being 1.5%. These totals represent only the municipal tax, property tax, and do not include the provincial education tax requisition. Since 2015, the non-residential property class has experienced a less than 3.2% tax increase for 8 consecutive years, with the average of 2015 through 2022 being 1.7%. It is worth noting that in 2020, a specific deliberate decision was made to keep non-residential tax rates at 0% due to COVID impacts. The following graph compares St. Albert to 10 like municipalities in Alberta related to average tax increases. The numbers show 10-year tax averages for each municipality, with St. Albert being 4th lowest for the tax increase over the last 10 years. The city has worked hard to minimize tax increases for the past decade while still providing exceptional service to our community. As we continue to look into the future, our options for funding needs are becoming more and more limited. There's not much left to squeeze out of the rock. This year, we again used one-time funding to offset tax increases and have included only a limited number of new budget requests to maintain service and service levels and advance your council priorities. But this is not sustainable over the long term. New, non-traditional sources of revenue, service reductions or taxes and fees are the only levers we can use now and moving forward in the short term if we want to keep our tax increases low. We cannot continue to proceed with a tax increase that is not addressing the full requirements of our growing community, geographic footprint, and to end our geographic footprint to maintain delivery of existing services while investing in the future. We continue as this administration to use the priority-based budgeting tool to identify opportunities to free up and or reallocate resources and to generate new revenue. We are currently in the process of updating the program scoring, and in early 2023, we will do the program costing and insights. This information will be used to facilitate internal discussions and discussions with council related to the services and service levels that we want to provide in the future, and to identify potential adjustments should direction from council be to continue to propose lower tax increases than currently anticipated to maintain existing services. These conversations will take place beginning in early 2023, so that we have the required information and can do the required analysis to inform the 2024 proposed budget and beyond. We continue to be impacted with the fluctuating economy, specifically significant inflation pressures that impact the cost of delivering services to our community. Over the past few years, we have seen reductions in traditional sources of revenue, such as funding from other levels of government and fees and charges due to slower revenue recovery for some of the city's key service areas, recreation and transit being the two big ones. Decline in other sources of revenue and additional costs to deliver services mean that we can make additional revenue from either other traditional sources, such as our traditional sources, such as taxation, user fees and penalties and utility rates, or by exploring alternate sources of revenue. Long-term fiscal sustainability continues to be a top priority and requires informed decisions at the right time to avoid unplanned stress on the city's finances. We will continue to focus on revenue generation opportunities, cost-saving initiatives, process efficiency, improvements, and creation of regional partnerships and collaborative opportunities where beneficial. At the same time, we need to continue conversations related to services, service levels, increasing costs and investments in relation to the required tax increase. Continuing with lower tax increases with one-time adjustments is not sustainable over the longer term. As previously noted, the proposed budget was informed by the previously described external factors. The council approved services and service levels, inventory, your council strategic plan, and decisions made in previous budgets that have ongoing impacts, such as infrastructure. The proposed 2023 budget focuses on maintaining the high standards expected for delivery of our programs and services to the community as approved by you. Supporting priorities established in council strategic plan. This includes core service delivery related to council identified strategies and new budget requests to modernize the city's budget and implement the procurement audit recommendations. Supporting supporting investments made to continue to stimulate the growth and diversification of our community and responding to community growth in the annex, such as in the annex land and growth in our northeast and northwestern borders. A limited number of business cases, which are new budget requests, have been included in the proposed budget to allow the city to continue to deliver programs and services most valued by residents and businesses and to respond to growth while minimizing tax increases. I should note that those business cases are based on assessed growth and will not implicate or impact the tax increase, any potential tax increase. For the city of St. Albert, to merely maintain existing service levels without adding any new products or projects or services, a tax increase of 8.2% would be required. Understanding the burden that poses for residents during an already challenging time, council directed administration to develop a proposed budget for 2023 with a tax increase in the range of 3 to 5%. To reduce the tax increase from 8.2 to our proposed 4.6%, the city implemented two key strategies. First and foremost, a $2.8 million reduction through corporate adjustments. And secondly, a $1.7 million increase through franchise fees recently approved by council. The proposed budget includes the following. The council approved 5% increase in electrical franchise fees amounting to a $1.7 million increase in revenue. A one-shot library transfer reduction of $500,000 and several one-time adjustments and reductions using $1.4 million from our surplus reserve, reducing by the amount of $258,000, the public art reserve transfer, a reduction of $250,000 in the community capital transfer, and a reduction of $413,000 in cost due to the Fountain Park closure through to the July 2023. As noted before, a limited number of new budget requests have been included, proposed to be funded through assessment growth and not impacting any potential tax increase. With the background behind building the proposed budget, we're going to switch gears now to introduce the different components of the city's budget. The city budget is divided into two reporting units, municipal and utility. Within the municipal and utility reporting units, it is further subdivided into the operating and capital budgets. The municipal operating budget has both base and growth components, and the capital budget on both municipal and utility sides have repair, maintain, replace, or otherwise known as RMR, and growth components. Currently, the proposed budget is built to maintain existing services and service levels. This includes direct service delivery to the community and services that support and enable the delivery of services to our community and the services delivered to you, the council. The preliminary net budget for the city was $127.6 million, which resulted in an initial net tax increase of 8.2% from the prior year. As noted before, we have enacted two key strategies to bring that 8.2% down to the proposed 4.6%. And that being the $2.8 million reduction through corporate adjustments and the $1.7 million increase in franchise fees. These adjustments result in a proposed municipal tax requirement of $125 million. More detail on the reductions will follow. The proposed operating business cases. In total, we have proposed 17 business cases recommended for 2023. These business cases were prioritized and determined to be delivered, determined to be required to maintain existing services and service levels and provide resource stability within departments to deliver those related services and support. You'll notice that many of the business cases are conversion of term staff to permanent staff, so the dollar impact is not as significant as it would be if we were creating something from scratch. A couple of points to note. Funding for the firefighter business case is included in the proposed budget, but as council approval is required for the FTE is presented as a business case, a base business case. The other 16 cases will be funded through assessment growth with no impact to the 2023 tax rate. A council request was made to bring forward information regarding hosting either an Alberta 55+ Games in 2027 or the Alberta Summer Games in 2028, and the budget required to develop bids for those events. In alignment with that direction, administration is providing two business cases for council's consideration. These two business cases are currently included in the proposed budget as not funded, and council will have to motion to provide funding for the 2023 budget. The intent is that council directs administration to advance only one of the preferred cases out of two, as supporting both through the course of consecutive years would be very, very significant in terms of volunteer and staff capacity. In summary, the 2023 proposed municipal budget has associated 4.6% tax increase and no reduction in services. I'm proud of the continued work by administration to find ways to reduce the initial tax requirement, which is to a more palatable level in these difficult times. There is one business case included in the base and 16 growth cases funded from assessment growth with no tax impact. The proposed capital budget contains 26 repair, maintain, and replace projects valued at $24.1 million approved by you in June, and 13 growth capital charters totaling $50 million. So what does this mean for the average household? Looking at the tax impact for an average house costing $450,000, the homeowner could expect a $3,986 property tax bill, which results in its $175 annual increase or change from 2022, or roughly $15 a month. The distribution of tax dollars to the various service categories is illustrated on the slide. In total, 82% of property taxes go direct delivery of services to residents and businesses. 18% property taxes are allocated to general government activities, which in addition to the budget for council's activities, include services that support and enable the direct delivery of services to the community and council. These service areas include things such as legislative services, legal, human resources and safety, strategic services, communication, finance, assessment, taxation, and IT. A moment to speak very quickly on what is not in the budget, but will have to be considered in due course. That's specifically the implications of regional transit. The regional transit financial impacts have not been included. Currently, the city believes that impact could be in the range of a 1 to 1.5% tax impact that council should take into consideration moving forward. Administration is working with the Edmonton Metro Transit Services Commission to have them present to council in November, with the EMTSC anticipated to approve their budget on November 17th. So the reason it's not included is that we do not have firm concrete numbers to put before you today. The impact is an annualized figure, it is important to note, and will be subject to the timing of the operationalization of the commission in 2023, which is currently not forecast before April at the earliest. The final figure will include existing costs for the commuter service and local services, subject to the final EMTSC opening day service plan, transit support, indirect costs, and new costs for commission pool costs and debt repayments. We'll now move from the municipal operating budget to the municipal capital budget. The 10-year municipal capital plan has identified approximately $773 million in capital investment, of which $299 million is attributed to RMR projects and the remaining $474 million for growth-related initiatives. The plan includes various projects ranging from improvements to civic buildings, major road rehabilitation and expansion, and replacement of life cycle assets. As indicated by the projected available funding line, which is the gray line running across the screen, the city currently faces a significant funding shortfall over the next 10 years. Without the current infrastructure funding deficit plan, the city will not only be limited in funding future growth projects, but RMR as well, which ultimately will move that gray line down into the blue. Given the funding deficit, administration has prioritized capital projects against the council-approved prioritization matrix to establish a recommended list of growth capital initiatives. The recommendation considers future funding requirements over the next 3 and 4 years. The 2023 municipal capital budget includes 26 RMR projects as stated for 24.1 million and 13 growth projects at 50 million for a total of 39 projects valued at $74.1 million. The city's capital infrastructure is grouped into 7 main asset categories. And these have been established to assist in understanding the city's investment into different types of infrastructure. The categories include civic facilities. So those are the supports required to ensure structural improvements and features to civic facilities. Examples include energy efficiency program to municipal buildings and municipal facility repairs. Historical and cultural. The preservation of historical and cultural significance. Nothing is recommended in this category in 2023. Land and land improvements. This supports the initiatives relating to land improvements and the requirement to purchase land. Examples include the Ariel Lexic turf field replacement. Master plan studies and other. This establishes direction and plans for required current year infrastructure. Examples include the transportation master plan and plan for youth transitional housing. This category is really preparation and planning that underpins all the other asset categories. Mobile and other equipment. Consists of the management of scheduled maintenance and replacement of existing assets. Examples include replacement plans for emergency services, public works, transit mobile equipment, and IT. Parks and Trails supports the repair and replacement of existing city parks and trails, just as it says. This year's recommended scope includes Millennium Park Design, Phase 2, construction, and Oakmont Trail, Phase 2. Roads and other engineered structures supports rehabilitating networks, transportation networks specifically, signage and sidewalks. Examples include the North St. Albert Trail Corridor, Rural Route 260 road construction, and the ongoing active transportation plan. Another brief comment of something that you have not seen specifically mentioned in the budget, but which is worth noting given the priority to St. Albert and in particular as identified by council. 2 significant developments are not included. The first is the development of the Lakeview District, because it will be a multi-year project as shown on the slide. But before we can have preliminary servicing, phasing, and costs with it, planning requirements need to be completed, including the preliminary technical study and the approval of the ASP that is expected to come late this year or early into Q1 of 2023. The development of the neighborhood plan expected in Q2 to 2023, which will then permit us to ask specifically for the money to support the design. Once we move, these planning requirements will be completed. We will move into the full servicing design, and when advancing, would like to provide greater certainty on construction costs associated with servicing at large. The final design of the preliminary first servicing phase is expected in Q1 2024, which would then allow for request for construction funding and anticipated construction starting in Q3 of 2024 for completion into 2025. The second piece is the Northeast development that's specific to servicing design and is currently in progress. Once this work is completed, administration will bring the report to council with a budget request towards the end of 2022 or early into 2023. Next, I will review the proposed utility budget. In summary, the 2023 proposed utility monthly bill will yield an average increase of 3.8%. The proposed capital budget consists of 8 repair, maintain, replace projects approved by you in June, valued at 41.7 million, and 1 growth project valued at 1.9 million. The estimated average monthly household monthly rate increase for 2023 is 3.8%, making the monthly rate $104.24 juxtaposed against last year's approved rate on the slide at $139.01. The increase in rates is due to an increase in the supplemental capital contribution to support utility infrastructure, rate increases from external sources for water purchases and wastewater treatment, and an addition to model updates to reflect revised revenue estimates. Utility capital budget. The proposed utility capital budget consists of 9 projects totaling 43.6 million. The city's utility infrastructure is grouped into 4 main asset categories by service provided. Those categories are water infrastructure. They are projects that include a rehabilitation of existing infrastructure and water network levels of service, which addresses system limitations with new and upgraded infrastructure to increase system capacity or improve fire flows. Wastewater infrastructure. Projects include the rehabilitation and or replacement of existing infrastructure, including mains and services, and level of service improvements to address service limitations or increasing capacity. Storm infrastructure. Projects include a sedimentation and erosion control plan to reduce the impacts to the Sturgeon River and infrastructure rehabilitation writ large. And finally, solid waste infrastructure. There is 1 project for a recycle yard upgrade in 2023 budget to the cost of $30,000. To conclude this afternoon's presentation, the 2023 proposed budget has been introduced as follows. The proposed municipal budget tax requires a tax levy of $125.1 million, which represents a 4.6% tax increase. The budget includes 16 growth business cases, which have no impact to taxes. The municipal capital budget consists of 39 capital projects totaling $74.1 million. The proposed utility budget results in a rate increase of 3.8%. The proposed utility capital budget consists of 9 projects valued at $43.6 million. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the hard work and collaboration of the city staff to bring us to this point, and I thank you for the opportunity to acknowledge them publicly. Finally, this slide outlines what is coming next in the process through to the anticipated final budget approval scheduled for December 19, 2022. Through this process, council will consider, review, and finalize the following: the municipal and utility operating base budget, the 2023 utility rates, and municipal and utility capital growth. Online, opportunity for residents exists, and the residents will have the opportunity online to provide input for council's consideration. It will open tomorrow, October 24th, and be open until the 10th of November, 2022. Further, engagement opportunity for the social serving not-for-profit leaders, Chamber of Commerce, and chairs of committees of council will take place on November 15. Input received will be shared with council to help inform the final budget decisions. All of the budget meetings will be live streamed for anybody who wishes to watch. More information on the budget process and how you can participate can be found at budget.stalbert.ca. That's budget.stalbert.ca. Budget documentation will be available to the public on the city's website following this presentation. This concludes my formal remarks. Thank you.
Okay, my first question is, did you have 2 slide decks prepared because you have the right date there, November 3rd and 7th for functional presentation?
We made the change during the 5-minute break.
Okay, that's awesome. You said 16 business cases. The slide said 17. I think there's some discrepancy in the budget.
16, yes. So the firefighters have been improved. The money's been approved
Okay.
for all intents and purposes. There's 16 new that you have not seen
Okay.
before.
All right. And one final question, and this is process. So council, no budget questions today. That we're going to go into committee of the whole on the 3rd, and we'll get into it then. But process questions, absolutely 100%. So Councillor Jolly just brought something to my attention on the new council member's website, she submitted a postponed motion that none of us know about. So the old process, she would have emailed and we would hear about these motions. Now we're going on this new website. It's there, but we're not getting notified when councillors put in PMs. So
I'm going to take that back. I'm
Yeah.
the project sponsor. That what's supposed to happen is you're supposed to get an email notification. But if you're not, that's obviously.
she did as the mover of the motion.
Yeah, no, but if all the rest of you are not,
No.
that's a glitch. And
Yeah.
that glitch needs to be fixed because you need to know when your colleagues are making those motions.
Yeah, so Counselor, do you want to read it in now so everybody's aware? Or I'll have it here.
Yeah, it's just to fund the $10,000 for the seniors games. Yeah, that's all it is.
Those councillor sponsors when she's put that one in. All right, any process questions? Counselor Hughes.
It's not a specific, what I want to ask, Mayor, is just a general question about the budget. I'd like, so just hear what I have to say before you say no, okay? What I want to know is when I read this, I'm just going to look for a bit of confirmation because this is all going to go in the paper and I want people to get perspective. The one-time savings that is being listed here totals about a 1.7% tax decrease. Am I reading this correctly? When I go through it, it's 2.321 million. So the total is about a 1.7% tax decrease that we're using one-off money to do.
Yeah, that's correct. There was the whole list of the corporate adjustments and they're all, other than the library transfer,
Yeah.
the rest of them are all one-time
One
adjustments.
time. Yeah, okay, which is equivalent to a 1.7% tax decrease for one time. So what will be the projected tax increase next year based on what we have for data now, if we were to roll this over and then have it?
These are not process questions at all. Coun-
Well, I think that this needs to be understood.
Yeah,
as to
but
what
people are
those-
going to be tuning in on budget.
Well, they know what the tax
deliberations.
increase projection is for next year.
It's not there. And let's really
Okay.
keep the budget questions so the public can follow along. They're not prepared to be here today.
Okay.
We've got those.
Okay,
set
so
dates.
FYI, I'm going to be asking you what the projection tax increases are going to be if we actually approve all the one times and actually have to pay the piper next year.
Okay.
So that will be that. And I have a whole series of general IRs that I'm not going to be putting forward right now, but I can list them later. And then this is general. Again, how much do we have left in the stabilization reserve, the capital reserve?
So specifically what we have tagged from the funding that we got from the provincial government app, if we use the 1.4 million, I believe that we have in the budget now, we'd have 2.5 million left.
So 2.5 stabilization. And how much do we have that's unattributed right now to the capital reserve? Because we don't typically spend all of it, right?
I'm gonna have to.
Yeah, let's
Get back to me.
Let's
Okay.
really just stick to process, Councillor Hughes. Questions
Okay.
about the budget will come during deliberations. That's what we told the public and that's what we need to stick. to.
Yeah, these are pretty general though.
They're-
I just
they're
want to know what the
Process
float
questions
is.
only, process questions. So the 3rd and the 7th, functional. Do you have a schedule of what departments will be presenting which day?
Yes, we do, and we will send that out to council. We had to wait for the final days
Yeah,
to
okay.
finalize, but we'll send out which.
Right, and then,
functional areas will be presented.
you know, for Mrs. Demont's question, like she wants to present on some of the, like, we're already getting outside agencies requests. I think all those things need to be on our website about when we're talking what. So, I mean, they can come at any day, but it'd be nice when they spoke on the day that we're actually deliberating that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, any more questions? All right, yeah, I'll have to call the committee of the whole. So Councillor Broadhead. The very first functional meeting is next Thursday, which is November 3rd. I think I'll probably zoom in, but I might ask you to run the meeting it's just easier for somebody in here than me doing it through Zoom. But you and I will figure that out, but just be ready to step in as DM that day.
Fair enough.
Thank you. All right. Is that it for budget? Is there a motion? So just. Yeah. Sam, you want to do it, Councillor Jelly?
That the proposed City of St. Albert financial plan and 2023 budget be received as information and referred to the committee of the whole meeting in November.
All right, call for the vote. Sorry, voting is closed and that passes unanimously. The next thing on our agenda, well done, Mr. Fletcher. That was excellent. I wouldn't mind a copy of your slides too. Okay, so 7.2 was on consent which was a time extension request that read that the deadline for the service place financial report be extended to November 18th, 2022. And 7.3 was not on consent. So do we have Mr. Stovall with us today?
No, I'll just take any.
You're gonna do it? Okay, it calls for Ryan, but I'll go to you, Diane. Do you have a presentation?
No, sorry,
Oh,
have a presentation.
just-
Just we'll take
No
any questions.
presentation, just questions. Okay, any questions on the budget amendment? Counselor Killick, go ahead.
Yeah, just to clarify, this is so that we're getting the money from the grant from the $200,000 grant, and we're putting it back in our budget where we've already funded the vehicle charging stations from, and that's why it lists. Am I understanding that correct? That it's listing it going back into capital project 421419? That we're just doing this as a bookkeeping kind of exercise?
That's exactly how I would describe it, as a bookkeeping exercise. So we need to get the actual revenue and expense budget sort of on the books from an audit perspective. But being that the revenue is coming from the grant, it's a net zero impact to the city, which is good news.
And at this stage, we don't have any info or whatever that would suggest that the EV chargers are going to come in higher than the 200,000. We may have to supplement it with additional dollars.
I have no information to indicate that at this time, but if there is, issues that arise, we just certainly be communicating with council on that.
Thank you.
Great, we should put this on consent. Sorry. Yeah. All right, I see no more questions, so I will call for the vote. Oh, I need someone to put the motion forward. Councilor Killick, how about you? Go ahead.
I'll do this. That the budget for capital project 421419 energy efficiency replacement program be increased by $200,000 with the increase funded through the MCCAC grant.
Awesome. Any opening comments on that?
Pretty straightforward
Yeah.
bookkeeping issue, and we'll keep our funding straight.
Councilor Hughes, do you have something on debate?
Yeah, I just want to thank Edmund for bringing this forward. I know that I mentioned my concerns about the EV stations not getting just a prior council approval. And with this increased funding, I realize that it's going to come back from grant, but we're just keeping all of our ducks in a row for accounting and ensuring transparency. So I just want to thank you for, making sure that we got all this done correctly today. Thank you.
All right, anything else? Okay, call for the vote. Voting's closed. That motion passes unanimously. There was no emergent items. We had one council motion that went on consent. It read that the city of St. Albert sponsor a Christmas tree in the St. Albert Surgeon Hospital Association Christmas tree light up program for $1,000 to be funded from the council sponsorship budget. We are now on to IR's notice motions and announcements. Anyone have anything they need to, is there any IRs that were sent in?
We have one from Counselor Jolly.
Okay, remember which one it was? I think I have it.
I can probably find it pretty quickly.
Are we doing BIRs as well?
Do you want BIRs today?
I've got a whole slew I can hand out so you guys can get started.
We can leave.
Just email them
it
out.
to you.
Yeah, email.
We normally have to read them. That's why I'm
Yeah,
asking.
just email them out. And then, do you want her to, I'll come back to you, councillors. Do your IR.
Is it IR, BIRs that we're doing? Just the IR. Can we go and I can look for it? Sorry, I found it here. So the IR is what would be involved.
Signage?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so what would be involved in changing policy to allow organizations like the Senior Center, VASA, St. Albert Daycare, Curling Club, et cetera, to allow visible signage indicating they're the sole occupant of a city-owned building or room. I'm going to add to that. I'm specifically thinking about places like the blank wall on Red Willow Place facing Lions Park that could be used to show the senior center exists. And then the second part of that is, does any city policy prevent organizations operating in city-owned buildings from accepting sponsorships for interior spaces or exterior amenities like the city does for culture events, the water play park, fountain service, rinks, etc.? If so, what would be involved in changing this policy to allow these organizations, including the library, to accept sponsorships of rooms, vans, exterior amenities, etc., that parallel city requirements?
Awesome. Okay, question for you, Mr. LaFleur or Cheryl, whichever one. Would you prefer the route of going through the new member site to submit our BIRs? Or do you want them by email? Because I don't want to be duplicating this, because if I'm going to be getting an email every time somebody does a BIR, I don't need to hear it twice.
Yeah, we would like to defer answering that for a very short time, like maybe till tomorrow.
Okay.
And we'll send out an email. We need to consult our technical experts about this.
Okay,
So,
so
Let's-
for now, I'm going to let Counselor Hughes send this email. And then can you guys then
Yeah.
upload it into the BIR for her? But
Yeah,
then in the future, as soon as we get this figured out, we'll do it
yeah,
ourselves.
anything that a council member feels needs to be sent like before the next 24 hours, yes, email is fine. The way you used to do it.
I can wait. I just don't remember. Did you send us, you must have sent us something telling us how to upload this little guy.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. Okay, yeah. Okay, so, and I want to just read an excerpt out of Mr. Fletcher's email from Friday. Questions may be submitted on the council member site as a BIR. A BIR is intended to provide a council member with the information that helps them decide if they wish to make a motion or to amend the budget or to help formulate the specific wording for a motion. So we're trying to keep the BIRs away from just your general interest. So they have to be really focused on whether there's going to be a motion coming out of your IR. Questions that are not anticipated to result in an amendment to the budget should be submitted as an information request. So that's really key. We're trying to keep because the turnaround time for staff on BIRs is crazy short, especially near the end. All right. That's it for information requests, notices, motions, etc. We have no in-camera scheduled today because I had to ask this. It's the fourth Monday of the month and we only do it on the first and the third. So meeting adjourned.
Thank you, everybody. See you later.